Welcome to part two of the conversation with Ralf, and hopefully, welcome back to those who caught part one. In this conversation, Ralf uses his wealth of transformation expertise to bring to life some of the challenges and opportunities organisations are facing for 2025 and beyond. One thing we've spoke about, Ralf, is again, perhaps more from a people perspective, is the challenges that we face within transformation programs and adjusting to different generations, right? So, millennials, Gen Z. What advice for people have you got around this, and what lessons maybe have you learned, for example, with Vodafone about this, and how have you gone about tackling these things?
We have a change in the motivational factors. And like our world has grown more complex than we felt it in the ancient days, also this area of our world has grown more complex. There are more motivational factors. That makes it unfortunately a bit harder and not that single-sided to define those motivational factors, to define the carrots which we need to hang out there so that people strive for it because they want it. But if we take that into account and we adopt our way of structuring business, work, motivation, and so on, then humans are humans. Yeah, they're not worse or better than the generation before.
No.
We have to take into account that this system is changing, and we have to adopt our structure to that system. And all of a sudden, we have motivation. But we cannot expect that the motivation stays the very same and our structure stays static. That's not possible. And by
No.
the way, it hasn't been possible 20 years ago either. We also had these fights, yeah, and these fights led to change.
Mm. Well, my mind's ticking over on that topic itself. I suppose also as a leader myself, it makes me think, well, if people have more things that motivate them today, surely as leaders, that's an opportunity, right? It's if we can tap into these motivations of people, surely we can encourage people and get the very best out of their wants and needs in life, right? Mm.
For sure. And we also have to take into account then that also while we are talking about business life most of the times, yeah, and we take into account it got more complex, there are more motivational factors and so on and so forth. The same goes for the private life.
Mm.
Yeah, there are, if you go into sports, I'm not talking about Manchester United, so the top sports, yeah, which is a business in itself,
Mm.
but I'm talking about regular sports clubs where people go in and play tennis or golf or go dancing, you know, or whatsoever.
Mm.
Um, then you also hear the complaint there. The the long grown and big clubs, they are losing members, they don't know how to keep up their structures and so on. Now this is because there are more offers, there are more things you can do. This is all in all very positive because everyone can find what gives something back to him or relaxes him and so on, but it also has a negative impact that that the clubs are shrinking and the
Mm.
power and the ability to do something is shrinking by that and so on. So we have to take into account, and positively we can use that this environment is getting more complex as well, and that getting everything stitched together has more derivatives than 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Mm.
It is a
Mm.
chance and a burden at the same time. If
We
we
see.
stop to look at it as a burden and understand it as a chance and accept that we need to observe and calibrate, then it's there's something good for everyone.
Mm. We see more and more, and of course, Annapurna that are very synonymous with what we do in the human resources market in the UK and in Germany. And we've seen a real big growth and maybe some broken silos between departments in recent times. And of course, there are many examples of the technology now that exists within HR, and a lot of organisations are going through these HR IT transformations. How do you see the landscape today, Ralph, in terms of communication between IT and other departments? Because I've heard over many years the challenges that IT faces to to deem itself a department that is relied upon everywhere rather than its own silo.
So the challenge I see is that more and more business processes get IT driven.
Mm-hmm.
In industries which are IT driven as such, the change is not that dramatic. But in other industries, this is a quite dramatic change that IT is growing into everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then we are confronted with the situation that I do have an IT department which worked quite siloed, provided systems for my financial accounting and for a few other support processes, but has not been involved maybe big time in my main, in my core processes.
Mm-hmm.
But all of a sudden, it grows heavily in there while it is a silo
Mm-hmm.
that has a lot of negative effects. First, communication
Mm-hmm.
between silos is never as good as if it's integrated,
Yeah.
as a matter of fact. Second, as the communication is not as good, also the knowledge transfer and the understanding of each other is not as good as it could be. Now, if the IT guys do not understand what the core process does, what the goals of it are, by when is it good and by when is it bad, you also cannot provide the IT representation of that core process in a good manner.
Mm-hmm.
So having said that, working in these silos is outdated. Do
Mm-hmm.
I need to turn everything into completely agile and praise the agile manifest like a preacher? No, I can go hybrid. I can apply some of the methodology, some of the agility.
Mm-hmm.
And in other places, it might make sense to go for full agile teams, no silos anymore. You're bringing together different professions in one integrated team, and that team as a whole is responsible to drive business and change and IT and it depends on the situation. Again, we are coming back to observe the situation and calibrate. Also
Yeah.
here, also in the work structures.
For you, Ralph, I know you're quite proud of some of the achievements made, in particular at Vodafone, right? Like, what for you? What determines whether a transformation is successful or not in your mind? I don't know if you want to give any sort of specific examples.
A successful transformation delivers what you defined in the target business operating model. If you're able to calibrate it over time so that it's not getting outdated, because then you're delivering something which no one needs, you might be very successful in it, but if it is not utilized, then what does success mean? Yeah.
Mm.
So if I'm looking to the transformations where I have been part of in the past 15 years, 20 years, let's say, including Vodafone.
Mm.
And we take the last topic we discussed about changing work structures.
Mm.
Then we were very successful in my last transformation I worked on. The work structures have been changed significantly. There have been, in the starting situation, significant silos, working in significant Taylorism, and it has been changed. And it has been accepted by the people working in that structure. It is valued by these people, and there are a lot of good outcomes for the people and the company. Let's not forget the
Mm.
company. A corporation is a structure which has the goal to make margin.
Yeah.
Yeah? You invest €1, a pound, and you're getting out a pound dot
More.
something.
Yeah,
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 more.
yeah, yeah.
That's the ultimate goal, and and that worked. So the adoption of the work structure contributed to that goal while not ruin but fostering the well-being of people, the well-being of structures, transparency, and
Mhm.
so on and so forth. So we implemented with that new structure, which brought benefits, a better integration of business processes, which we adopted to the needs of customers while fostering the needs of the corporation. Um, and we had business cases which paid off.
Mhm.
Did the whole transformation pay off? Not yet, and hard to calculate even because you have that moving target. Yeah,
Of
but
course.
there are quite a lot of elements out of the full transformation which paid off. Um, and and some of the transformational elements are moving faster and some are moving a bit slower. If I'm thinking about another transformation which I did in a big international corporation driven out of Germany in my
Mhm.
past, there we had the mandate to centralize business processes, to harmonize them across the group, um,
Mhm.
and by that derive more transparency for people working in that processes. Tick the box. We reached that.
Mhm.
Second, to give a better experience and an easier access and easier um, fulfillment for the customers. Tick the box. We reached that as well. Um, and for the corporation, we wanted to have more transparency, faster transparency. And as we were dealing with enterprise resource planning processes, which includes also financing, accounting, controlling,
Mhm.
um, that's that's an interesting good, yeah, to have more transparency. But we also achieved more speed, shorter turnaround times for that transparency. And if you're an international corporation and you shrink the duration which you need in order to get transparency about your financial numbers from months to days, then this is really an asset because you know how your working capital is allocated, how it works for the corporation, for the shareholders,
Mhm.
but at the same time, you improved the way of working for the employees as well. And you took that into the transformation, as well as the IT, as well as the processes which you adopted.
Mhm.
So overall, very successful, no matter into which area of the whole transformation you look.
And I think it'd be unfair if we don't give some time. We've spoken very heavily around uh, business operations from a transformation perspective, Ralph. But how far along do you think we are in this gliding journey from a technology perspective? Like, what's your view on what's next in the world of cloud continuum? Have we reached a peak? Like, do you feel there are much more innovations to come, and where do you see them coming from?
No, we have not reached the peak.
Mhm.
In in the current world, I see particular two influence factors um, being very important. One is cloud,
Mhm.
and the other one is artificial intelligence. The cloud one, people might say, "Oh, what an old term." We talked about that I don't know how many years
Feels
old.
old, right? It feels like a dated topic, doesn't it?
Yes, but if I apply a transformational view, again,
Mhm.
many influence factors to be taken into account, calibrated, and leading to a change. If we want to use cloud in the right way and also do something good for, again, many criteria, many influence factors for the environment, which we haven't touched at all. Yeah, it's a
Mhm.
growing factor, environment, and how to deal with it. It's getting more and more important, and rightfully so. Then we need to take into account, is my business process well set to be driven to be executed on a cloud environment? Is my IT stuff well equipped to do so? Am I able to differentiate between processes which need to be real time and on the spot every time, or processes which I can run either now or in 3 minutes or in 5 minutes? Or is even my IT infrastructure and my business process running on it able to be run on instances which can be taken away and it continues on another instance? You know where I'm going to, but many other people might not. We are
Yeah.
talking about spot instances.
Lots of instances. Yeah.
So we are talking about capacity in the cloud, which is actually reserved for someone else, but that someone is not using it at this time. It can be utilized for my own needs. I need to take into account that it's taken away from me immediately when the one who reserved it needs it. But there are a lot of factors which are positive. Yeah,
Mhm.
there is more capacity for everyone because no one uses all the time all the capacity, or that's very seldom. Um, it's something good for the environment because I don't need to have double, triple, 4 times, 5 times of the infrastructure produced and maintained and consuming power.
Mhm.
And I could continue with that. So, and that's only one aspect of cloud. There are many others. So we are at the beginning of utilizing that. Now, some companies are a bit more far down the road and they understand all of what I'm saying and could add even 3 hours of more details to it. They are on a good way, but there are a lot of corporations which are not.
Mhm.
Um, and the artificial intelligence, the story is similar with a bit of different content. But again, you have corporations being more advanced and corporations not being that far.
Mhm.
But we have countries in this world who have shortage of people, of professionals. So while in the ancient times we were seeing artificial intelligence as a threat, it will
Yeah.
eat our workplace and it will do something bad to us. it we need to change our mind. In some areas in industries, it saves us because
Mhm.
we all want to have a good life. We all want to have service and so on. So our service desire is growing. And if you have at the same time shortage of people in that industry, how does that go together? You need to find a way out. And
Mhm.
artificial intelligence can be that way out. But to have the same analogy as we had in cloud, um, is artificial intelligence, I put a server and an AI software onto it, and then I start to ask that AI software questions. Now I asked Charley Lucas as a mobile customer, what is his desire? You can't expect that the AI software gives you something sensible. The software needs data. Humans, by the way, as well, if you ask such kind of questions. Yeah. Now you
Mhm.
need to provide the data. So have we thought where our data is? Have we thought how we, in a concentrated way, provide that data to the AI software so that the question we ask get a decent answer and so on and so forth? So again, we need to observe what we have as influence factors. We need to take the necessary ones into account and not only one or two. And then we need to calibrate ourselves how to apply that technology. If we do so, then there is a lot of influence from AI to a lot of different businesses we see.
We've just earlier this week recorded another podcast episode. I'm not sure in which order these should appear. The lady ex IT transformation director from Adidas in Munich, and similar topics. Maybe we can even divulge into a group podcast with the pair of you guys, Ralph. The fear of AI was the big topic around this, and how we can embrace and we can change. But I feel like in summary, like you say, we're not at the peak, right? There's still so much more. We're in this kind of new phase, right, where a lot of organizations don't, they say these buzzwords and they want to adopt AI into their pathways, their roadmaps. A lot of people are unsure how. So I'm really excited personally to witness how the landscape changes, and hopefully, it's why we like doing this type of content. We want people to be able to express and learn from one another, and yeah, no doubt the next 5 years or so we'll see huge amounts of change.
So to come back to one, I know that time is running and we're almost out of. But to come back to one question you asked here, what are you particularly proud of? Now we're talking about cloud, we're talking about AI, we're talking about what's the big thing driving us in the moment. Now, in Vodafone, we have been able to conduct a transformational element to bring together the necessary data so that you have it on your fingertips. I'm very proud that we reached that in the transformation, because it now enables artificial intelligence. It is running on cloud. It is using all that cloud benefits which you have, and not only you don't need to drive to your dealer to buy a computer. And the combination of that, yeah, you have 360-degree view onto your customer's information and situation, by that you can serve the customer better, which is better for the business process in the company, which can be improved by artificial intelligence even. That's a big achievement, which is a big driver for other industries, companies, and so on as well. So here in the podcast, I don't want to say names and partners and so on, yeah, because I don't want to go into advertisement. But if someone is eager to understand a bit more behind the scenes of how have we achieved that and so on, one can find me, I guess, if he wants to.
They can, certainly. I don't think this will be the last time we have you on, Ralph. I think we're really scraping the surface on some topics that we can explore together. And we've got some good ideas between us on where we can go with this, and I'm sure our viewers or listeners will be really excited to hear more from you. I think you've been a fascinating guest. Thank you very much, Ralph.
Thank you for conducting the interview.